Howdy doody folks, John present. I've played too much Final Fantasy XIV, and I feel like I've run out of content. I've already cleared the tier. I could be doing ultimates, but that requires a lot of time, effort, and is kind of a commitment if you want to beat it in a timely manner. That, and I hate dealing with people. I've done most of the side content in the game, besides the more extreme stuff. Even Blue Mage. I love Blue Mage. But once you beat it once, there's not a lot making you want to go back. Haven't beat everything I wanted to, and beat Housing Savage. I'm in the same spot as most people, looking for something to do before the new content comes out, finding a new game or a new hobby. That's what I decided to try, something I heard a lot about, Final Fantasy XI. Originally a PlayStation 2 game, and then an Xbox game, and I'm sure it runs on your grandma's toaster too. Released 2 decades ago, sequel to Final Fantasy X, last expansion in 2015. Last updated just a couple of days ago. So let's show how you get into Final Fantasy XI. First, you buy it. Comes with some starter gear, all the expansions, and a free month subscription. Next, you gotta make a Play Online account. This is as simple as going on the Final Fantasy XI website. I'm fucking with you. Remember back during the WoW refugee exodus? How they said that Final Fantasy XIV was the hardest game to just buy and start playing? Well, this is a whole other beast. This process is so arduous, it needs so many handshakes, I swear. Anyone that had trouble before would just kill themselves trying to do this. It's sort of a rite of passage. Everyone's done it to play this game. Just set aside an afternoon to get it all done. Next, you're going to want to get Windower. Without it, your game will look like the PS2 game that it is. It's the only way to play in some eyes. Also, you can't alt-tab without it, or else your game will just crash. This is what it looks like when you get it going. Sure, you get super sampling on, and peruse a lot of the features that you could be using. Some of these feel like common sense, but things like a mini-map, seeing debuffs on enemies, an experience bar, seeing your cooldowns, and seeing your teammates' meters are not in the game regularly. If you complain about not having them there and don't use Windower, you're just basically setting yourself up to fail. I should really put this warning on 14. Too bad they already got my money. So I gotta make every cent count. It's time to make our character. Let's go through the list of races. First, we've got the Humes, who have very boring stats and for very boring people. Next, we've got the Elvon, with a strength stat as long as their arms. The Taru, where every cutscene is now labeled comedy. The Mithra, well, we know why you pick Mithra. Don't try and hide it. The Gulko, that really beefy, but don't ask how they reproduce. Now we need a starting job. First up is Unga Bunga, and then your local drunk, white privilege mage, basketball American mage, mage but with swords. And last but not least, Khajiit. Now you gotta pick your starting city. Each have a different story. We have the Kingdom of Sandoria, the Republic of Bastok, and my personal favorite, Green Hell. Now the game rewards you for going as the correspondent race to each capital. All it gives you is a ring with about 2 stats on it. Now if you want to forego canon and do whatever you want, I say fine, go ahead. I won't stop you from jumping off of a cliff either. At the same time, it's a fucking game. I'm trying to push you in the right direction for a reason. Once that's settled, let's start on our journey in Vana'Diel. We're going to start on controls here. Hit the minus button on your keyboard to open the main menu. Hit it again, it'll go to second menu, all the way down to config, and I think it's MIS 3 we're looking for. No, it's MIS 2. MIS 2, I was wrong. Now here's our first important choice in the game, the full keyboard control scheme. If you heard somebody talk about playing this game 20 years ago, this is probably the setup they'd use. You use the numpad to move and the arrow keys to navigate the menus. This is the 2 hands on keyboard setup. Now over here to compact. This is the mouse and keyboard setup. This is what you and I, normal people, use. But to use this method, you want to change a few things. And there's compact too, but I don't know about that one, or using a controller. So good luck with that. Now in the movement menu, this will affect all your normal keys. You could rebind the menu button to something sane. Same with the navigate menu buttons. Put everything how you like it. Now with the command binds, it will be anything that you press with Control or Alt. This can be the Pets command, Magic menu, Abilities menu, something to bring up in the midst of combat if you don't already have a macro for it. Because believe me, navigating menus in the middle of battle is kind of hard. You'll feel the majority of this game is just navigating menus to do anything. At least make it a bit less stressful. You probably also noticed the massive amount of spam that's going on in your second window. This is like a lot of other MMOs where there is a world chat used as a trade chat. Everything you're seeing here is most likely having to do with endgame, and you probably won't be interacting with it anytime soon. Unless you're like buying a boost or something. It even fills up the window when you go to try and talk to NPCs. Once it reaches the top of the window, it'll stop scrolling, but it's still pretty annoying to deal with. but there's a pretty easy way to get rid of it. Go to config again, log, and then window 2. Then hit the chat button. All you have to do is turn off extremely wide area chat and take a breath of fresh air because all those people will be out of your mind. There's lots of other customizations that you can do to the log windows, but that's a great path of self-discovery you should go down yourself. Alright, now we need to go get our starting gear. At the beginning of the game we're looking at maps a lot. You're going to want to go and do these blue crystals on the map for every city that you go to. Every single one of them is connected, even the ones in the field. Now let's head over to Windows Walls, C14. Alright, let's check here. It looks like we're already here. In fact, let's go over some NPCs. Here's the festive moogles for all the other cities. They give you your starting gear, and also they give you a couple other things, but they're not too important. Just know that this is what you're going to be wearing until 30. Nothing else really compares. You'll look like a duck, but what can you do? There's also the starting NPCs. I'll tell you about quests and people in the area, but honestly, if you need something, just go check out the wiki. It has all the information you need. These NPCs sell magical maps. You'll need them because you'll start with the starting zones in the first 2 areas. Everything else is up to you to buy, and there's a lot of maps. These moogles give out event items. If they have something in their chest, you want it. These moogles deal with your login bonuses. They give mounts, trust, and some quest items. These moogles give a sack the size of your inventory. It costs 10,000 gil, but you can access it at any time. These guards are the gate of every capital, and they give quests of what is basically the MSQ of their capital. You'll want to do these quests eventually because they're a part of Rhapsodies and meant for early game players. But if they have a repeatable quest, I wouldn't recommend it. It isn't worth your time when you could just trade them a crystal. A little bit close by is a respective guard to the capital. These guys can cast Signet on you, which will give you crystals and conquest points as you beat mobs in the field. And eventually you want to use these conquest points to get the warp ring, because it's a free teleport to your home point. These are the Sparks vendors. They give you some gear and some items. Eventually be a nice way to make some money. Here's a curio vendor Moogle. As you beat Rhapsodies, he'll have more things for you to buy with Gil. These guys are a part of the Trust Initiative. Trust are NPC party members that you can have with you in place of actual people. When you finish their quests and get ciphers, this is where you trade them to. These black books are the survival guides. They're like home points in that they're all connected, but most of them are in fields and in dungeons. Ideally you want your home point next to these for easy access. It's pretty hit or miss if these will be in the field, but if you see one on the map, you might as well go unlock it. Now when you go to touch one of these things, I mean, it's common sense that you just be connected to all of them because, you know, they're books. It's common sense, right? Right? So our first goal is to get level 5 so we can unlock Trust. Let's try combat out a bit. If you want to target something, hit tab, left click it, or hit the F8 button to target the nearest mob to you. If you're like me, you're probably hugging spells at people, not even knowing that there was an attack button. This works for the early game, but you'll get tired of it real quick. It'll work for now, but this is not how combat's supposed to be. When you hit the attack button and get close, you'll start meleeing. This builds your TP, and no matter what class you are, you're going to be wanting to build TP. Also, you'll be getting skill, and you want to skill up as much as possible. But if you get tired of navigating menus, you'll learn to macro. And unlike Final Fantasy XIV, there's no real buttons to the game. No real combos for you to do mindlessly. This is where macros come in. To use a macro, use Control or Alt in 1 through 0. And there's 10 different pages to your macro book that you can use up and down in the menu to access. It's the most convenient way to play the game. Eventually it becomes second nature. What you have on your bars, how to navigate the menu, and which button to press to get what you want. Now macros might seem like a lot of work, but we're going to get you through it. If you use macros in Final Fantasy XIV, you'll kind of recognize what's going on. Alright, let's navigate to the macro menu. There's a macro book for every class in this game, and each macro book has 200 slots to it. Here's my modest list of macros. There are others like it, but this one is mine. I have a lot of things for different situations, and I should probably make some more. Let's look at some examples. We have magic. Magic that magics when magic is on cooldown. Job actions. Job actions and magic. A simple mounting macro. And magic targeting myself. And a macro to send somebody to Brazil. You want to see something funny?
No.
Get pranked. Goodbye.
Oh.
This is probably the most complicated macro I have. And you can even macro emotes. Let's see what it looks like here. Okay, / jump. It's easy enough. Alright. This is really the only way to satisfy my NA monkey brain, because there's an actual jump button. Let's go back to the field again. Sometimes when you kill a monster, you'll get a chest like this. This one in particular is blue. That means the items in it are temporary. When you log off, they'll disappear, so use them when you can. Other times when you kill something, it'll drop a black chest. Black chests are different. The items in this one you can sell, but you have to play a little mini game to open up first. The lock will be a number from between 10 and 99. You have to guess which number it is. Every time you examine it, it'll give you a new clue on what the number is, but it will give up a chance to guess. This chest had 6 charges on it. That means I had 5 clues and 1 good guess on what it could be. If you get a wrong guess, it will tell you if it's higher or lower. Most likely if you use all your clues, it'll still give you at least 3 numbers to choose from. Let's see if we guess right. We could vendor it, or we could check it out at the auction house. Let's go over how to actually buy things off the auction house. You probably noticed by now, but there is no search bar. It's just a bunch of categories. If you're looking for something specific, keep in mind the category. And if you click on an item, you can sort the current category alphabetically. Now, buying items themselves is a whole nother process. You can't just outright buy an item. You have to guess the current price and bid on or over the price that people are listing it as. You won't see the price listings, just the price history. So let's go look at what I can buy here. Haste is a pretty important buffing spell, so I might as well buy it. First, check out the price history so I know exactly how much I'm buying it for. It's been listed at 50 and 80k, so let's try and buy it at one of those prices. Doesn't hurt to start your bid low at a reasonable price and then go higher, only if you want the best price. And I'll do just that here. You can see there at the bottom some of my bids are missing. Thankfully I have the money, so I can just buy it outright. Most spells are sold from vendors all over the world anyway, but usually you're just paying for the convenience. Same goes for most items that aren't random drops. See, I matched the price history and I got it. But I'm sure starting off, you don't have a lot of money. Here's probably the easiest money making method early on in the game. Go to the Sparks vendor I talked about early on in the video. They sell equipment and trust pretty cheap. Now you want to go to the 71 and 98 items? Go over 2 pages and go down to the Acheron shield. This is the highest selling item that you can buy with Sparks. You'll want to just load up on these bad boys, fill your inventory, and then go sell them to the vendor. If you don't have a sugar daddy, this will be your primary way of making money early on in the game. It also serves for a decent allowance. Okay, it's time to go vendor. Usually anything early on you're going to be selling to the vendor will be for pennies, but the Acheron shield sells more than just pennies. But you're capped on the amount of sparks that you can spend during the week. Otherwise you have bots like these just funneling money into the economy. But the money making is still there for you, so try and abuse it as much as possible. You can make about $1 million a week.
Which, by the way, fuck China. Just want to make that clear. Fuck China.
But I haven't explained how to get these sparks of imminence. For that, you need to do records of imminence. Go over to the quest tab in the second main menu. It'll be right under where you would normally check for quests. The quest list for this is immense. It includes a tutorial section to push you in the right direction, and also has a quest for every single area in the game. If you're out leveling or questing, there could be at least 1 records of imminence that you could be doing while you're doing that at the same time. There's also hourly, daily, and monthly quests that you could do for special rewards. It's good at keeping track of what you've yet to do and what you've already completed. And oh my god, it's still going. Another important feature we need to go over is trusts. There's specific quests that you need to do in each of your capital cities to get trusts to work. It involves talking to the trust initiate, getting the institute card, going to meet the person you're going to make the trust with, summoning them outside the city, going back to meet the person you summoned. Then any future ciphers that you get will be traded to the trust initiate, and he will give you new trust. You can only summon 3 to start, but as you beat Rhapsodies you'll get more and more, eventually being able to summon 5 at once. They make up for having no friends, or if you just want to enjoy the game solo, and come in a variety of different flavors. Access the trust menu in the field to summon them, and they'll have a little icon next to their name to designate what role they play. Kupipi here is a healer. If you want to unsummon trusts, just /type ref all in the chat, and if you want to unsummon somebody specifically, type /ref and then their name. Let's check out who else we got. We got Naji from Bastok, he's a meleeer. Semilufina, who's range, who I got from Winders missions. Vana'Diel, who's a tank, who I keep calling Vana'Diel. King of Hearts, who's from, I think I got him from an event. Cornelia, which actually she's a buffer, so she doesn't actually attack. Same with this guy here, Kupo Free, he just gives you free XP. They don't actually do combat, they just give you, they put a child as a trust member. I mean, it makes sense, they're not the actual people that you're summoning, it's just alter egos of them. I wonder if she gets involved in combat, does it bump the rating of the video game? Alright, how do we top a child? Let's see here. Yeah, this huge chonker. Oh, a god? Another god? Another god, some dinky edgelord Jataru, this dude, I got too many trusts. Oh, hello. Now, your first main goal when you start the game is probably going to be trying to go to your port town to get to the next continent. Along the way, you could be fighting monsters and probably get you about level 20 at this point. Getting the other capitals is important so you can teleport there whenever you need to. These cities have their own trusts, people, and it's a good excuse to go exploring the world, instead of farming in the same field for a couple hours. Let's open some world maps and check out some routes. If you start in Windurst, you'll be heading over to Maura, which is not too far, but it's still a ways away. Both Sandorians and citizens of Bastok will be taking the same trek to Salbina, although Sandoria is in the north and Bastok is in the south. Poor Bastokians have quite the trek though. And here's the path for Sandoria, and like I said, along the way, trying to get a few mobs down, trying to match their level by the end of it. And here we are in a little beach paradise. Aside from the obvious shops, we got some good magic vendors here. And an NPC here you want to talk to about getting your sub job. Your sub job will be a job that you already leveled that is half the level of your main job, and some synergize really well together. But first you'll have to finish their quest, which involves picking up random items on mobs outside the port town. Some of these are a pain to get, and some you might as well go to other areas to try and get those items. Or what you could do is what we actually came here to do, is start Rhapsodies. I'm sure when you zoned in, you got a cutscene and a quest that told you to grab 3 of the same item off of these mobs in these areas. And actually, you might as well just buy it off the auction house. And that quest will just give you an item to trade those NPCs. Okay, now's the time for me to tell you what Rhapsodies actually is. It's an overarching quest that goes over all the expansions that are included in the game, and gives you a taste of each of them without having to complete them all the way. It's hard to compare it to Final Fantasy XIV's MSQ because it doesn't help you get to 99 just through doing these quests alone, but it does give you good reason to do them as soon as you can. Best way to get started would be to look up the list of quests for Rhapsodies of Vana'Diel on the wiki. It'll show you what quests you need to do in order to advance the story. The first couple set that we're in will have to do capitals missions, and you'll see here these key item rewards that we get, Rhapsody and X. These are our milestones when beating these quests. Each of these give about 30% extra EXP gain each, and also have some very good effects that you probably won't even get to reach until much later in the game. If your main goal is to reach endgame, I suggest doing Rhapsodies in between any dungeon delving you may do. It may seem like a ways away, but the next point in opening up the game would be going to Juneau. Before, if you tried to beeline to Juneau, you'd just get wrecked by level 30 mobs outside the city. I wouldn't even blame you trying to get here first, because it is where all the other capitals are connected. There's a ton that you can unlock here, pretty much opening up every other expansion, getting them out, expanding your inventory slots, and being able to level up your job past 50. It's not so important that you get here as early as you can, because most of the content that will be here will be locked until you're level 30. But if you're raring to go, let's look at some maps and find our way at how to get here. I wouldn't suggest the Windurst way just because the mob density in Stormrod campaign is pretty intense and you might aggro some mobs if you were lower level. I've never gone the Bastok way, but damn, look at this trek. Look how far you have to go. And I'm sure Rolling Berries Field is just as bad as Stormrod campaign. If you were lower level, I would suggest going the Sandorian way just because when you reach the Vana'Diel Downs, you can just go along the path and you won't run into any mobs this way. Once you reach here and you're at least level 20, let's go get your mount. First we need to get a Chocobo license off of this guy. It'll probably give you a lot more quests than you need, but the one that we're going for is Chocobo's Wounds. You'll just be feeding a Chocobo for about 7 minutes. Now talk to this little gremlin and get the quest full speed ahead, which you'll run around in Vana'Diel Downs looking for caves, hitting checkpoints, and making sure that your raptor doesn't hate you. Most important feature of mounts is that when you're on them in the field, mobs cannot aggro to you, they cannot attack you, and you cannot take damage from them. If you're hoping to access expansions without being the appropriate level, it is key that you have a mount when you're riding in the open areas. This will give you access to way more content than you would have normally when you're just walking around on barefoot. And also, it's just generally faster than walking anywhere. And let's put that to the test right now. Let's try and get to the most recent expansion, Seekers of Aldeline. There's even more content here that's easy to do, and it's free XP and currency. All the Seekers of Aldeline areas are connected by these kinetic devices, which are powered by crystals, so now you have a use for that if you're not crafting. First step is to go in here and talk to the lady at the front desk. She'll give you an item called a Geomagnetron, and she'll have you tune it to any of these spots in the world. These are all main game dungeons. My suggestion would be to find one around your level, or finding a buddy with sneak and invisibility. But why did we get here so early? There are 5 coalitions that are colonizing Aldeline. They each have quests for you to do, which are all different from each other, and give a certain amount of XP and bailed every time that you do them. And this one here I'm in is the Couriers Coalition, is the easiest one possible. With each of these quests, you'll be spending imprimaturs. Every 6 real-life hours, you will get 1, and you can hold up to 15 early on. And you can spend up to 3 each time you do one of these quests. Now to get on why this one's the easiest. The camps that we're delivering to are all connected by these waypoints. All I have to do is teleport, talk to the camp's administrator, and then go back to the Couriers Coalition. Turn in the quest and get a reward. It's great to grab this early on because it's pretty much free XP every day, and you won't be touching this place till much later. Let's do a brief overview of the Mog House. You can place furniture in here, get some special buffs. You can change your main job and your sub job here. There's a special storage you can only access within your Mog House. And you can collect your money that you've gotten off of selling items on the auction house. But now that we've gotten the Seekers of Vana'Diel, it has a little extra in store for us. Once you've gotten your Pioneer's badge, which you pretty much get just by stepping into Vana'Diel, you can talk to a skipper and then go to the Mog Garden. Here's where they're at in the major cities. You'll get a currency for coming here every day that you can use to upgrade your Mog Garden, and they give you materials every day that you can use for selling or crafting. In here we can plant, we can mine, fish in a lake, we can prune, chop at trees, we can pick junk off of the beach, check our ocean fishing net. Eventually you can upgrade to have a chest to store your gill and a Moogle to store your crystals. It's really needed to save your space, especially early on, when you don't have a lot of inventory slots. If you want to be able to teleport here from your Mog House, you can talk to these 3 cat children and give them their favorite flower. You'll be able to teleport to here or any other hotels that you would have visited. Speaking of cramped inventories, let's try and get you a bigger one. The Green Thumb Moogle in the Mog Garden will sell you this goblin stew that you can trade to a goblin in Juneau to expand your inventory. You buy it for 100k gil, but I think it's very worth it, because otherwise he'll just ask you for 3 materials that you might as well buy off the auction house. And this method saves you time and potentially some money, because those materials can get pretty expensive. You can upgrade your inventory 10 times, and also make sure to talk to the Artisan Moogle to upgrade your Mogsack inventory as well, because it'll match the current size of your inventory when you talk to the Artisan Moogle again. This video is the culmination of all the advice I wanted to give to new players who'd started FF11, just like I did a couple months ago. There's a couple things I haven't touched upon, I'll bring them up right here. I didn't talk about the Gold World Pass system because it's a refer a friend type system. In fact, it's a lot more personal than other recruiter friend systems, where instead of just giving out a link, you actually have to go buy the code in-game and then give it to another player before they start the game so that they can use it. And then when you want the rewards, you have to meet together in-game and talk to an NPC. And not everybody has the opportunity to do that. So if you already have somebody willing to go through that process with you, they should know how to either do it or to look up the process and how to do it. I'll have a bunch of links to the wikis and the leveling guides in the description, and give a plea to all new players. Please use the wiki. This game is old, archaic, and what some might call soul. So it doesn't tell you anything. You have to rely on your fellow players, and the wikis is the culmination of every other player before you playing this game, and sharing how to go through the game in the least painful way possible. The FF11 Clopedia should be used for all your story missions, and the BG Wiki is really good for your endgame questions. There's also a comprehensive leveling guide called Fantastic XPs and where to find them, to show you areas where you can level and what mobs are good for your current level. I didn't bring up skill chaining because that is probably one of the most complicated mechanics I've ever seen in an MMO, and you're most likely never going to see something like that solo. In fact, I didn't know about it until I brought it up to one of my friends. I know there's not a lot of melee representation just because I'd level casters all the way up to level 99. In fact, I haven't touched much of the other jobs in this game. I also didn't talk about getting any of the advanced jobs. I'm sure if I went over every single advanced job, this video would be way longer than I intended to be. But discovering all these jobs, how good they are and how they play, is something that I want us to do together. It's great to see all the other new players who have joined, even after this game has turned 20 years old, discovering all the jank and miserable experiences this game has to offer, and having the most fun with it possible. Just wanted to put a little end bit to the video. Rhapsody is cool, but I'm still not done with it yet. By the time I put this up, the sale's probably gonna end. Thank you all my boomer friends who kept bringing up this game and making me want to try it out. Especially my EB, which, it's not gay. And I'm gonna enjoy my CBT of leveling up all the other jobs. Which means by the next time you'll see me,
I'll have ascended.